Say hi, everybody. Okay, so I'm gonna try to do this as quick as possible because I have Danny. Hopefully, he will make me do it as fast as I truly can. Okay, so this is the review for chapter 8 and 9. Oh, you're so cute. I think, well, in page 152, he talks about, the damage that all these CRT has done. And I don't know, I think, supposedly it's CRT is an analytical tool, right? We already know that it's actually a worldview. But they are trying to use it to stop racism. But I think it's super racist. Because, like, for example, in page 152, it says that, there are college textbooks currently being used to train future educators. And so they're telling people, right, they're teaching these teachers that seeking the approval of the dominant group is like you're internalizing your oppression, right? If you try to behave in ways that please the dominant group, if you are silently enduring microaggressions, so like people like me who came to this country not speaking a single word of English, like I would be internalizing my oppression, or not like actually letting. I don't know. I wanted to be able to communicate well. And not necessarily because people were judging me or criticizing me, but because I want to be able to say, I speak English, right? Um, and I know that I could have communicated by saying, I don't know, like chopped English, right? Like, and people would just understand. But there's nothing wrong with my hard effort in trying to speak correctly. Anyways, I think what he elaborates in this chapter is that there have been a lot of people who have lost their jobs over just even standing up to this ideology. And in page 157, right, Thomas Sowell, he asks a question, basically, who is to blame, right? Who is at fault for the demographic differences, the birth differences, or cultural differences that evolved over the centuries before any of us were born? And of course, might be a rhetorical question, right? But if you think about it, and if you are a Christian, then you either say that this is an accident, right? That you were born in the family that you were born, and that you were raised the ways you were raised by just random chance, or it was ordained by God. And if it was ordained by God, then you know that he does things with purpose. And I think it's in Acts, I don't remember the chapter, but it does say, right, when I think it's Peter who's preaching, saying that, God has just appointed the time and the place where people are going to be living. And so yeah, I think if you're going to blame someone, right, if the CRT crowd is going to blame someone, then they are going to have to blame God. Then he just talks about a lot of preaching that has happened throughout the years in the Black church. And also he talks about Obama, how when he was, I think he was still a senator or something by then, but he like if he were to give that speech today, I don't think he would be canceled, right? Because he talks about the importance of fathers, the importance of education and high standards, and also crime, and just the victim mentality. I know. And then at the end of the chapter, the one that is called damage, then he starts talking about abortion and how abortion has been just basically genocide, right? Like so many babies, millions of babies. I know, millions of babies have been slaughtered. Because, you know, the CRT crowd, they don't care about how, they don't care about that Black women are just basically the 13% of the population, and yet they amount for 30 or more percent of the abortions that are performed in the US. So, oh, and actually, I think it's in chapter 9 where he says, well, if Black women being 13% of the population are performing, right, the 30% of the abortions, wouldn't that actually say that the system is just, right? Something like that. And obviously, they don't care about the fact that they're like killing generations of Black people, but what they care is that they are able to kill them. Then the last chapter, chapter 9, talks about, you know, people that I consider, that I have learned over the years, like John Piper, Mark Dever. I think we already talked about David Platt. In page 178, Voddie mentions Neil Shenvi, who is an apologist. He actually has a PhD in chemistry, and he's super active on Twitter. Although a lot of people within the SBC, I don't know, he's always walking on eggshells. So Neil Shenvi, he has a great resource. He's a great resource and has a lot of articles on Christian apologetics, but it's just weird because his pastor is G.D. Greear. So it's like he's calling out CRT, but he never names names. So anyways, I know, are you tired? Yeah. Okay. Oh, and this is just super weird. So the CRT is just, okay, so now we're talking about feminism and environmental justice, and how people say that the meat and dairy industries not only exploit our environmental resources, but also continually exploit female bodies in the reproduction of new animals to use and kill for human consumption. What? So they're talking about cows, basically, right? Like we're exploiting cows and we're making them produce milk, and that's just unjust. So for the broader social justice movement, access to abortion is the key issue. Oh, see, here's the quote in page 182. It says, for example, if justice equals access to abortion and Black women have disproportionate access, right? Even though they comprise just 12% of the population, but they have more than 35% of the abortions. Doesn't that mean that America, at least in this area, is just? Then obviously he talks about Tim Keller and John Piper and how they're just kind of walking on, well, not even on eggshells, but just Tim Keller just says so many silly things on Twitter that, like Tim Keller, there's a quote that he said at some point that the Bible did not speak directly on many issues. It was just talking about the abortion issue. But I mean, what else can it be? What can be clearer than thou shalt not kill, right? Then, no, wait, that's your photo when you were a baby. Don't take it away. Then we talk about Mark Dever. We talked about Mark Dever. And how, many people, like Platt wrote a book before the election calling Before You Vote. And how they were saying that, the single issue voting was a straw man. he mentions the article in October of 2020 that John Piper wrote, in which he kind of like made abortion and baby killing and all of that, you know, like as like almost equal as Trump being meat. Anyways, he actually ends the chapter praising Donald Trump for the fact that, you know, he signed an executive order banning critical race theory and intersectionality in the government, which I think Joe Biden already kind of overturned. But I mean, he does say that, even though he has issues with President or with when President Trump was president, when Trump was president, he appreciated the fact that he called CRT what it is, just a divisive concepts that we should not be using, and that he was grateful for God having put him where he was. And that's it. I think these two chapters were kind of short things that probably you already know or that have heard. But yeah, so anyways, I'll see you next week. Bye. Hey.